Dr. Howard, welcome to Gracie Baja St. John's.
Thank you.
Please tell us who you are and what you do for a living.
I'm Dr. Howard Spinowitz. I'm a board-certified anesthesiologist, been in practice for over 23 years, and I'm also one of the co-proprietors and chief medical officer of De-Senesce Longevity and Wellness, which is a longevity clinic here in Jacksonville Beach, Florida.
Awesome. Why longevity nowadays? It seems to be very popular now. What's the hype around it?
Well, people are starting to realize that there's a difference between health span and lifespan. Lifespan is what we always talk about. It's someone lives to be 90 years old. That was their lifespan.
But not the quality.
But not the quality at all. If they spent the last 15 years walking around with limping, in poor health, with high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, etc., that's not health span. Those are just years of life. What we want to try to do is increase a person's health span, which is keeping them healthy for essentially their entire lives.
Okay. Awesome. So a 90-year-old nowadays that is in bed, they cannot walk, they can't do much. This is all preventable to a certain extent. Of course, I'm sure there are some genetic factors that you just...
I was just going to say, yeah.
You got dealt a bad hand, but most of the stuff you will say, such as habits and supplements, they can be started right away, like in your mid-30s, so when you get to 90s.
100%. I mean, the sooner that we start adopting healthy lifestyle practices, the better, of course. But really, at any age, we can begin to live healthier and start to at least try to reverse some of the accumulation of lifelong damages that we got from living unhealthily.
Here's my next question, Dr. Howard. What inspired you to, I'm always curious of how people ended up doing what they did in life. Was it something from childhood? Was it a particular event, some kind of trauma? What inspired you to do what you're doing nowadays? What was the story behind it? I'm very curious to always ask this question.
Oh, sure. So it was actually started in the beginning of my career. I was an anesthesiologist, and I started practice doing almost exclusively level 1 trauma out in Las Vegas. And I began to notice very early on the extent of unhealthiness that all of these patients that were going for surgery had. And it seemed that there was a feeling out there in the world that this was inevitable. That the decline of people over time was inevitable, and I really knew that not to be true, and I wanted to see if I could prove and help people to show them that decline is not inevitable, and we can live many, many healthy years, more than were expected at the time, through good choices.
So conventional wisdom tells us that as we age, we fall apart, and that was, you wanted to challenge that.
Oh, absolutely. There's something in the world called blue zones, which are 7 or 8 places around the world where people are unexpectedly living much longer than their peers, but again, not just lifespan, they've got increased health spans. Yeah. So it's not genetically programmed that we're going to get old and sick and die at a certain age. There's ways to prevent it, and there's ways that we can actually help patients with.
Awesome. Me and my girlfriend went to Japan last year, and we went to Okinawa.
I was going to say Okinawa.
That's one of the blue zones, right? Down in Japan. So we had this thing where, I Googled in Okinawa to see if we can meet a centenarian. A centenarian, and
which means over 100 years old.
Which means over 100 years old. But it's also, I did some research on why this is a blue zone, and I came to the conclusion based on the research I did that it was lifestyle choices. Like, these people, they're up and running, they walk, they do all their chores. So it really came down to lifestyle choices in that area. And I wanted to meet one, honestly, because I never met one before. I wanted to see what it's like to meet a person that's over 100 years old that is healthy. Not just 100 years old, barely making it, that is healthy. So I kind of have this goal too, to be, whatever my life will be, like 95, 100 years old when I die, I want to be able, just like your wife was saying, to be able to live that to the fullest. Like, I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I don't think I'll ever stop. Hopefully, I'll never stop. But that's a goal of mine, to be able to train one last time before I die. For me, it's very simple. I want quality of lifestyle.
Yeah, and just expanding real quickly on the blue zones, one of the reasons that they found people live so long in these blue zones is community. And being surrounded by family and friends social interactions is one of the things that really keeps us young. And it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you're going to increase your health span and potentially have 4 generations of family members sitting around the same dinner table or traveling the world together and seeing the world, that keeps us young in and of itself, and that's going to increase our health spans.
Yeah, and you just don't see that nowadays. Like, when's the last time you saw a great-grandfather, grandfather, a father, and a son sitting at one setting together? So you're saying that nowadays that's more achievable than it was before, with all the technology and all the treatments that we can go ahead and start to do?
Right. I will say ultimately it comes down to nutrition, diet and exercise, of course, and having a big social presence around you at all times. But there's also really some cool tweaks out there that we can do, using hormones and supplements, etc., that will even lengthen your health span even more.
Interesting. Very interesting. Any personal experiences that drive you to do what you do nowadays?
Yes. Actually, so when I was 22 years old, I was what I thought was in the best of health. I was in college, and I recall I was driving home from college. It was an 8-hour drive, and I was having to pull over and stop more than once every hour. I had to urinate, and I did not know why. This is before medical school. I had no idea why I had this excessive urination. But I got back home and I went to see the doctor, and sure enough, it came back that my blood sugar was over 400. And I was eventually diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Now this is, this is as opposed to type 2 diabetes, which is the overwhelming majority of Americans and those in the Western world, which essentially happens from eating the wrong foods, not enough exercise, and it actually can be reversible if caught early enough, just through improved eating and exercise techniques. Unfortunately, type 1 is it's an autoimmune disease. It's my body formed antibodies that attack the beta cells of my pancreas that form insulin. So it's something that you can't ever, at least for right now, can never get rid of. The interesting thing about it, though, is type 1 diabetes is actually a very advanced driver for accelerated aging. So my body's in a constant inflammatory state from diabetes, and I should be aging faster than the general population. However, I've done a number of blood tests recently, and it turns out that I've slowed my biological aging by over 20%. So, in other words,
that's significant.
To make an analogy, in a given year, if everyone starts aging January 1st and stops aging at the end of that year, December 31st, my body stops aging around October 12th of each year.
And you compound that, well, not compound that, but just over time. I mean, that 20%.
Oh, it's cumulative.
2 decades, maybe.
Yeah, it's cumulative. And when I was 50, 2 years ago, I did a blood test that showed, my chronological age was 50, but my biological age at that time was 36. So despite having type 1 diabetes and being more prone to accelerated aging, right, I was able to slow down my aging by 14 years biologically.
Yeah. That's good news. That's awesome news, honestly. That's great. That's great to hear that you've done that on yourself, and then you're reaping the rewards of what you preach as well.
And all I want to do is really help people to do that same as well.
Yeah. Dr. Howard, what does the average person get wrong about longevity nowadays?
I think what everyone seems to think, which is incorrect, is that the inevitability of aging unhealthily. They see themselves as getting old and with an inevitable decline, and that does not have to occur.
We accept the norm, basically.
We accept, we saw how our parents got old and infirm and passed away, and we expect the same for us, but it does not have to be that way.
So what are 3 things, Dr. Howard, that you believe will improve not only the lifespan, but the health span of people?
One of the key drivers of aging is insulin resistance and visceral fat deposition in the body. With nutrition, the way people eat today, we're giving ourselves an overload of carbohydrates, and that causes visceral fat, which is the fat that surrounds our organs, to accumulate, and that drives insulin resistance. Insulin resistance has been proven to actually accelerate aging. So through nutrition, we can eat foods that lower the quick rise in blood sugar after we're eating most of our meals, and that will slow our aging process dramatically. There are drugs and supplements that I have access to that mimic caloric restriction. Caloric restriction, or just essentially cutting down your calories, is the #1 proven way to slow aging. Now, we do try to eat less, of course, in my family, but there are other drugs and supplements that can slow down aging by mimicking caloric restriction. One of the most exciting drugs out there is called acarbose. Acarbose is an alpha-glucosidase inhibitor, and basically what it does is it slows down carbohydrate absorption in the gut. So after you eat a meal, normally, especially if it's a meal with a high glycemic index, meaning it spikes blood sugar very fast, your insulin level goes up in the blood. And insulin levels in the blood cause fat deposition, they cause inflammation, and they do accelerate aging. Alpha-glucosidase inhibitors, by slowing down carbohydrate absorption, are leading to slower spikes in insulin release and therefore decelerated aging.
Dr. Howard, can you walk me through what a new patient in your clinic will experience on the first day?
Sure. First, we do usually a telemed call, just an introductory 15, 20-minute call, just to make sure we're on the same page and are seeking the same things. After which, we would schedule some labs, and I order a plethora of labs that really tell me a wealth of information.
More than the regular labs
things that your primary care doctor would never order or think to order in a million years.
Such as?
Specific markers of cholesterol that are never checked for some reason, such as LDL particle number. I've never seen that checked by any physician in my lifetime.
Why is that? Why?
They don't know about it. That's the only thing I can imagine is they just don't know about it. But LDL particle number is the most important cholesterol marker to check that will let you know about your cardiovascular fitness and possibility of leading an increased health span. So I would do a deep dive into all of the labs that I check. We talk for an hour going over labs, and an hour on additional meeting going over strategies that I can help them with.
Okay. Do you, on your calls, do you go over maybe they tell you about their sleeping patterns, their quality of stress in their life?
We inquire about it,
So you
sure.
guys go like hand in hand of what their lifestyle looks like before before you guys even proceed to the next step.
Right. I have a very specific questionnaire that we ask patients, and that includes sleep and stress, and that helps me to get an idea of what hormones they may be deficient in. And one of the things that we do most is prescribe bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, or BHRT, to try to improve patients' quality of lives. And this is definitely different than the majority of hormones that are prescribed, which are synthetic. Synthetic hormones, these are made in a laboratory. They don't mimic exactly what's in the body, unlike bioidentical hormones, which are the same as what's in the body. And the differences between the two are immense. Bioidentical hormone replacement therapy has the potential for increasing both lifespan and health span, and more importantly, just makes us feel better, improves our quality of life.
Why would somebody then prescribe as a doctor a synthetic hormone over a bioidentical hormone if it's known that hey, like this isn't good long term? Like, why?
I think there's a couple of reasons. First of all, it's what we're taught in medical school, and the example I can give is with thyroid hormone. There are many people out there that are deficient in thyroid hormone for one reason or another, and we're taught in medical school to prescribe Synthroid. Synthroid is a synthetic hormone. It's made in a lab, and it mostly boosts. There are a few different types of thyroid hormone, but it's mostly boosting T4. T3 is the thyroid hormone that our body actually needs, and that when we have enough of it, we feel better. The reason why the big pharma companies don't make T3 is because since it's bioidentical, they can't patent it. They can't make any money off of it. So they add a little tiny methyl group or a carboxyl group or something to a hormone and make it synthetic, and therefore they can patent it and make billions of dollars off of it. But it does not serve the same purposes as bioidentically. I can prescribe T3, which actually makes you feel better.
Understood. Big difference then. Huge difference.
It just comes down to money and lack of education.
Right. Unfortunately. Okay, understood. What excites you the most nowadays about longevity? Like, there's so much to know, right? Like, what's your particular area of interest in this field?
Right now, I'd really say the most exciting thing is the convergence of biological age testing with targeted interventions. So for the first time, we can measure the rate of biological aging, as I spoke of earlier, and we can actually see if any interventions that we're taking are working to slow down the aging process.
How fast can you see these changes? Like, when do you test to see if something is working, to see if it's reversing age?
We generally would test, after getting the initial set of labs, we would test labs every 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
So there are many interventions that we can take nowadays. Some of them are in the initial stages, but there's a very exciting drug called rapamycin, which it's an mTOR inhibitor. mTOR stands for mammalian target of rapamycin. But basically, in a nutshell, one of the reasons why we age is because there's that old myth that you've probably heard, keep eating throughout the day, multiple small meals, keep your metabolism going.
That was big when I was in high school. Like, eat every 2-3 hours.
That is the worst nutritional advice of all time. The reason being, when we're actively digesting and absorbing nutrients from eating, we're not in repair mode. Our DNA, our cells are splitting, mitosis, and they're reproducing and growing. But when your cells are growing, they're not checking themselves. So when we have extended periods of time when we're not actively digesting food, our cells go into repair mode, and we fix the DNA mutations that occur every second in our trillions of cells. That's what keeps us alive longer. Not eating throughout the day constantly and keeping your body in a high metabolic state, but slowing down metabolism. And rapamycin is one of the exciting drugs that's out there that I take myself right now that early research shows can likely slow the aging process in humans.
What's your personal philosophy on longevity? Like, what do you do on a day-to-day basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis to have a better quality of life? Not just live longer, like we were saying before, but to make those years count every year until you you run out of years, basically.
Without a doubt, nutrition is first and foremost. There have been studies that show that the one food group that maintains lifespan the longest is actually legumes. So when I say legumes, that's beans, split peas, lentils, chickpeas. That's been shown to extend lifespan more than any other food group.
Hummus?
How much?
Hummus.
Oh, hummus. I thought they said how much. Hummus from chickpeas, absolutely, 100%. So one of the main benefits of legumes is they're very high in protein, vegetable protein, of course, and fiber. So they can replace animal protein, which has been proven to shorten lifespan and definitely health span as well. I'm incorporating that into salads every day. Instead of eating a steak, I might eat falafel with dinner. Okay. Now, and by the way, I'm not saying that you have to become a vegan. There's a place for meat in the human diet.
Thank God.
Yeah, but cutting back is very important.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'm doing every day or nearly every day of the week is exercise, but there's a couple of different types. High-intensity interval training, or HIIT, has been shown to be one of the main things that can decelerate aging in a person. But also very important is weight training, and for a number of different reasons. One, for example, would be to increase bone mineral density. As we get older, we start seeing elderly people that are falling down and breaking their hips. They've done studies, and people in the Western world, if you are elderly and have a hip fracture, the odds are between 20 and 30% that you're going to die within 1 year after that hip fracture.
Wow.
And so by doing resistance training with weights or even with body weight, you're increasing your bone mineral density and potentially preventing falls that will lead to rapid decline in your health and possibly even death.
In jiu-jitsu, we use a lot of that, honestly, in resistance training. Here's why I preach on it. I know there are some myths out there, like you don't need to train weights if you do jiu-jitsu, just do more jiu-jitsu. I think that's completely wrong, because we get banged up in jiu-jitsu all the time, right? But if we have some muscle or just big bones, then we can absorb that fall a little better. Even though we got a nice matted pad here, still you're getting thrown all the time. So I'm a huge proponent of resistance training as well. Always have been.
The other thing with weight training is that muscles are the main absorbers of glucose in the body. And when you've got excess glucose floating around in the blood, maybe because you don't have muscle hypertrophy, that is what drives insulin resistance. And as we said earlier, insulin resistance is the primary driver of aging. So the more muscle you have, the lower your blood glucose will tend to be, the less insulin resistance you'll have, and the longer you'll live.
And the more calories you get to burn too because of more muscle, or is that?
Well, remember,
Misunderstood.
the goal is reduce caloric intake in general.
Okay.
So we're not trying to eat a bunch of calories and just have big muscles to get the calories into. We want to decrease our caloric intake as much as we can while still getting all the nutrients and micro and macronutrients that we need.
Thank you so much for your time,
Of course.
for your wealth of knowledge. If people want to find out just a little bit more about what you do, where you guys are located, how they can talk to you, where can they find that out?
Sure. Check us out on our website. And I should say the name of the business is De-Senesce. Senesce means to age or to decline with age. So De-Senesce, you can imagine what we're going for here. So look at our website. It's DESENESCE.com. DeSenesce.com. Look forward to seeing you there.